האם זה באמת סגולה בדוקה? הסגולה ללמוד בזה?
Erev Tov, good evening, Tov V'Yetzer. We are in the Zera Shimshon on Parshas Va'eschanan, and we're going to do the first part of Os Aleph, section number 1. It's a pretty long section. We're not going to be able to tackle it all, but we'll do the first part and save. We'll probably ultimately do it, God willing, in 3 different parts, but we'll do part 1 tonight. And let's take a look at a few psukim from our Parsha, right at the beginning of the Parsha before we begin. So this is going to be Parshas Va'eschanan, Perek Gimel of Devarim, Psukim Chav Gimel through Chav Vav. And the Torah says, Va'eschanan el Hashem, and I davened to Hashem, or I requested, I implored Hashem, Ba'es Ahi Lemor, at that time saying, Hashem Elokim, you have begun, this is Moshe recounting to the Jewish people what he said to Hashem. You have begun to show your servant as godlecha v'es yodcha hachazaka, your greatness and your mighty hand, asher mi'el bashamayim uva'aretz, that what power is there in heaven or on earth, asher ya'asechem ma'asecha that can do like your actions and your mighty deeds. So Hashem said, Hashem, you have all the power. No, there's nothing in the world, no power in the world like you, like yours. Ebrono ve'ereh esa'aretz hatova. Allow me now to pass in and see the land, the good land, Asher be'ever hayarden, which is on the other side, meaning the western side of the Jordan River. Hahar hatov hazev halavanon, this good mountain and the Lebanon. Lebanon in the Torah referred to the northern part of Eretz Yisrael. Actually, Lebanon, that's how Lebanon, the country, got its name above Israel. Vayisaber Hashem bi, and Hashem was angry with me, lema'anchem, because of you, v'lo shoma Eli, and he didn't listen to me. Vayomer Hashem Eli, and Hashem said to me, Rav loch, it's much for you. Al tosef daber Eli od badovar hazeh, do not speak more to me about this thing. So this is, of course, the very well-known recounting in the Torah where Moshe tells the people, I pleaded with Hashem, I begged Hashem to be allowed to go into Eretz Canaan, and Hashem was angry with me because of you, because of the people, and he did not allow me. He told me, no, don't keep asking, and did not allow me to go in. So now let's get into Os Aleph and the Zera Shimshon. Va'eschanan el Hashem ba'es ahi lemor. And I davened to Hashem at that time saying, Perish Rashi. Rashi explains, La'achar shekavashti eretz Sichon ve'og. This was after I conquered the land of Sichon and Og. Dimisi, I thought, Shema hutar haneder. Perhaps the vow that Hashem had taken had been abrogated. Ad kan l'shono, that is, until here is a quote from Rashi. So Rashi wants to explain, what did Moshe mean when he said, I davened to Hashem at that time? At what time? What event had happened that Moshe is referring to when he says, I davened to Hashem at that specific time? And Rashi answers and says, Moshe was referring to the fact that he had just led the people in conquering the lands and the kings of the Sichon and Og and their territories. And after that, he davened and pleaded with Hashem to be allowed to go into Eretz Canaan. And the Zera Shimshon is going to discuss why it was that Moshe initiated the intense pleading and davening to Hashem about entering Eretz Yisrael, Dafka specifically at that time, namely after conquering the Sichon and Og, those kings, and taking their lands. Next paragraph. Tzorach Ian, we need to analyze. Loma dafka la'achar shekovash eret sichon ve'og. Why was it specifically after Moshe conquered the land of Sichon and Og, hayadome be'enov, it made sense in his eyes, v'chule, etc. Meaning, why did it make sense to Moshe at that specific time to daven to Hashem and plead with Hashem to go into Eretz Canaan? That's question one. And there's another point to analyze. Loma Moshe hayakol kach mis'ave likones le'eretz Yisrael. Why, after all, did Moshe desire so passionately to enter the land of Eretz Yisrael? Did he need to eat from the delicious fruit of Eretz Yisrael? Is that what it was all about? Ve'im tomar, and if you suggest shehoya mis'ave lekayim hamitzvos atluyos ba, and if you say perhaps it was because Moshe desired to fulfill the mitzvos that are dependent upon being in the land, you can only fulfill certain mitzvos in Eretz Yisrael, and that's what Moshe was all about. That's why he so passionately desired to go into the land of Israel. V'halo kvar hivticho hakodesh baruch hu. Is it not true that Hashem had already promised Moshe l'shalem lo sachar, to give him a reward, ki'ilu kimam, as if he had fulfilled those mitzvos. Ki de'isa sof perakama desota, as the Gemara states at the end of the first chapter of Meseches Sota. Al pasuk, on the pasuk, v'lochein achalek lo barabim ve'es atzumim yechalek sholo. The pasuk over there in Sefer Yeshayahu says, therefore I will divide for him among the many and the powerful, he will divide the spoils. And the Gemara says that is a reference to Moshe Rabbeinu receiving rewards equal to the many and the powerful, which was a reference, according to Chazal, to Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, to the great Avos, the patriarchs. So Chazal teach us that Hashem said to Moshe, your reward is going to be equal to the Avos. You have great reward waiting for you in the next world, and I'm going to give you the reward for doing as if you fulfilled all the mitzvos hatluyos ba'aretz that are dependent upon being in Eretz Yisrael. Zera Shimshon continues, V'loma hutzrach lomar lo, so why did Hashem need to say to Moshe, Rav loch al tosef, it's enough for you. Don't keep davening about this point, meaning Moshe, it seems, didn't get the message. If Moshe was passionately begging and pleading with Hashem to go into Eretz Yisrael, and if the reason was because he wanted to do the mitzvos hatluyos ba'aretz, the commandments that can only be fulfilled in Eretz Yisrael, how did Moshe miss the fact that Hashem had already promised him that he would get the reward as if he had done those mitzvos? So he did not need to keep davening to Hashem about it, to the point where Hashem said, it's enough already. Don't keep asking me. I'm giving you the reward. I told you that. Next paragraph. V'yesh lomar, and we can say, the Amrinim b'perek Gimel Ksubis. Chazal teach us in the 13th chapter of Meseches Ksubis, Kol Hador b'chutz la'aretz, anyone who resides outside of the land of Eretz Yisrael, dome kemi she'ein lo Eloah. It is similar as if that person has no God. Excuse me, Elokah. It's as if that person doesn't have a God if he or she lives and resides outside of Eretz Yisrael. V'chol hadar be'eretz Yisrael, and everyone who resides in the land of Israel, dome, it's similar, kemi sheyesh lo Elokah, as if the person does have a God. So very strong statement in the Gemara in Meseches Ksubis, that on a certain level, from a certain perspective, if a person lives outside of Eretz Yisrael, it's as if they don't have a God. Amazing statement, powerful statement. And if they live in Eretz Yisrael, then it's as if they do have a God. V'chein matzinu b'Yaakov. And so we find with Yaakov Avinu, with the patriarch Yaakov Avinu, she'af al pi she'omar lo, even though Hashem said to him, v'hine anochi imach, and behold, I will be with you. This is when Yaakov Avinu was leaving Eretz Yisrael to go to the house of Lavan. Hashem said, I'll be with you. V'gam hu atzmo amar. And Yaakov Avinu himself said, Yeh Elokim imodi, Hashem will be with me. Ushemorani baderech hazeh, and will watch me, guard me on this trip, on my journey, v'chulei, etc. So Hashem had said to Yaakov, I'll be with you. And Yaakov had said to Hashem, you're going to be, if you're with me and you're going to be with me, then Yaakov made certain commitments. Mikol Mokom, nevertheless, Chozar Lomar. Afterwards, Yaakov went back and said, Vishavti b'sholom el beis avi. And when I return, or if I return to the house of my father after being away in the house of Lavan, the Hainu Eretz Yisrael, meaning Yaakov was saying, when I come back to Eretz Yisrael, ve'ozdavka v'hoya Hashem li lelokim. Then specifically Hashem will be for me a God, meaning that even though Yaakov talked about Hashem being with him outside of the land of Israel, when he left the land of Israel, he emphasized that only when he came back, v'hoya Hashem li lelokim, Hashem would be in a more intense way a God for Yaakov Avinu only once he came back to Eretz Yisrael. Ve'af Moshe, next paragraph. And so too Moshe Rabbeinu. Af al pisha ola lashamayim v'nikra isha Elokim. Even though Moshe went up to Shamayim and was called a man of God. He wanted to go even higher. He wanted to ascend even higher in his connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ulehikones la'eretz Yisrael, and to enter the land of Eretz Yisrael, kedei lizkos lemida zo, in order to merit this quality, sheyiyeh Hashem lo lelokim bizchus atzmo, that Hashem would be a God for him in his own merit. We'll see what that means now. Shahare kol mashe zocha ad ata, because everything that Moshe had merited in terms of his connection with Hashem until now, shema lo zocha ela b'schus Yisrael. Moshe thought perhaps he only merited his connection to Hashem in the merit of his being the leader of Bnei Yisrael. And he was embarrassed, he was ashamed to take benefit that came to him from other people. Meaning, if Moshe felt, if the closeness to Hashem that I have merited is because I'm the leader of Bnei Yisrael, then I'm uncomfortable with that. That's awkward for me. I want to achieve my own, in my own merit, I want to achieve a relationship, a special relationship with Hashem. V'lizkos bishvilam dafka, v'lo b'schus atzmo. Perhaps Moshe had received his merit specifically because of Bnei Yisrael and not because of his own merit. And that's why he wanted to go into Eretz Yisrael. So let's pause here for a moment, because the Zera Shimshon has just answered the question, the second question that he asked in the beginning. The first question, just so we're all recalling our questions, the first question was, why did Moshe choose the moment after he conquered the land of Og and Sichon, to ask Hashem and plead with Hashem to go into Eretz Canaan. Why was that the specific time he chose? And secondly, why was he so passionate about going to Eretz Yisrael? Hashem had promised him Hashem was going to give him the reward as if he had done the mitzvos that you can only do in Eretz Yisrael. So what was really going on? So here the Zera Shimshon said what was going on was that Moshe knew the only way to achieve the closest special relationship with Hashem is if you're in Eretz Yisrael. If you enter Eretz Yisrael and you're in Eretz Yisrael, that's the way to ascend to the highest possible relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's what Moshe was saying. It's not just about receiving reward and schus in the next world and merits in the next world, as if I've done the mitzvos hatluyos ba'aretz. I want to be in Eretz Yisrael and feel and know that my connection to Hashem is the highest it can be, and it's in my own merit. It's not just in the merit of being the leader of the Jewish people. Next paragraph. HaKadosh Baruch Hu heishiv lo. And Hashem responded to Moshe, Rav loch al tosef. It is much for you. Don't continue. V'chule, etc. Af al pi sha'ato zachisa bishvil Yisrael. Even though you did attain your merits because you're the leader of Bnei Yisrael, im kol zeh, nonetheless, ein locha shum boshes panim. This shouldn't make you embarrassed. This shouldn't make you uncomfortable. Mipnei shema sheyizku heim bishvilcha. Because that which they, the Jewish people, merited because of you. Lachazor lischias hamesim bizuchuscha. To be able to be revived and be a part of the chias hamesim, that's in your merit, Moshe Rabbeinu. And we'll explain that in a moment. Hu yoser harbe mimashe zachisa ata bishvilam. That is greater than what you merited because of them. You've given Bnei Yisrael, you've given the people something, a merit, a great privilege and zechus that outweighs the merit that you have received by being their leader. V'zehu Rav loch. And this is what Hashem meant when he responded to Moshe and he said, Rav loch, it's much for you. Not just the way we understand the pshat, the simple meaning that Hashem was saying, it's enough for you. It's enough already. You don't need to keep asking to go into Eretz Yisrael. No, your zechus, your merit that you've given the people outweighs what they gave to you. So don't have the concern about feeling that your zechuyos, your merit and your closeness to Hashem, which is connected to being the leader of Bnei Yisrael, don't think there's anything to be concerned about there, to be worried or to be embarrassed about. It's the Jewish people who have received the most benefit from you, as opposed to the opposite. Mishum hachi al tosef, and that's what Hashem meant and said. Don't continue to ask to go into Eretz Yisrael because your merit already outweighs the merit that you receive from the people. So let's talk about the Techias HaMesim issue. Chazal say, and we've seen this before in the Zera Shimshon, Chazal teach us that when Moshe was buried outside of the land of Israel, this was a tremendous zechus for all of the Jewish people, that entire generation of Jewish people who died in the Midbar, outside of the land of Eretz Yisrael, because Hashem made it, arranged things so that when Tchias HaMesim came, and Moshe, of course, would be revived and redeemed at that time to be a part of Tchias HaMesim, because he was outside of the land of Israel, his merit would extend to all of the people buried outside of the land of Israel, that whole generation, and they too would be revived at that point and resuscitated and be a part of Tchias HaMesim, and together go into the land of Israel, go into to Eretz Yisrael. So that's what's being referred to here when the Zera Shimshon says, Moshe, you're worried about the merit you received from the people. They're the ones who have benefited the most because of what will happen in the future in the Achris Hayomim, when those who are buried outside of Eretz Yisrael will be able to be part of Tchias HaMesim and the time of Mashiach and the next world. Next paragraph. Ubishlama kodem kibush sichon ve'og. And it makes sense that before the conquering of the lands of Sichon and Og, Moshe was afraid. Shema machmas ha'avono shel Yisrael she'ein zochem lekach. Moshe thought because of the averos of the Jewish people, that they, because of their averos, would not merit to go into Eretz Yisrael. Lo yizke gam hu she'HaKadosh Baruch Hu yiyeh Elokim. He also would not merit that Hashem would be a God for him in the most direct way that can only be experienced in Eretz Yisrael. Moshe was afraid about that. As Hashem said to Moshe, Lech reid mi geduloscha. When Moshe was on Har Sinai, Hashem said, go down, and the Chet HaEgel occurred, the sin of the golden calf. Hashem said to Moshe, Lech reid, go down. What did it mean, go down? Not just physically go down from the mountain, go down mi geduloscha, from your greatness. You're the leader of a great people, but when they sin, you go down from your greatness. Continuing the next page on the column on the right. Klum nosati lecha gedula. Did I give you greatness at all? Ela bishvil Yisrael, but only because of the Jewish people. Hashem said this to Moshe. Achshav she Yisrael chotu. Now that the Jewish people have sinned and committed the grievous transgression involved with the Chet HaEgel, lama lecha gedula. Why should you have greatness? So Hashem, that you can see, is based on a Gemara in Maseches Brachos. Hashem is the one who taught Moshe this lesson, that his greatness came from being a part of the Jewish people and leading the Jewish people. And when they did the Chet HaEgel, Hashem said explicitly, Lech reid, go down from your greatness. You have greatness because you're the leader of a great people. When they sin, you lose your greatness. V'chein watzinu, and so we find, this is from a Gemara, as you can see in Masechet Tanis, shekol lamed ches shana, all 38 years, shehoyu Yisrael b'midbar kiminudim, all of the 38 years after that the Jewish people wandered through the wilderness and through the midbar, after the Chet HaEgel and after the Chet HaMeraglim, and they were told you're not allowed to go into Eretz Yisrael now, and you're going to have to wait till this whole generation dies out and wander in the midbar till 40 years are up. All of that time, the Jewish people were like minudim. They were like people in excommunication and nidoi. Lo nisyached hadibor Moshe. The HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not communicate with Moshe in a direct, intimate way, the way that he had communicated with Moshe previous to the 38 years. Next paragraph. So the point is that Moshe's concern about feeling that since the Bnei Yisrael, the door Hamidbar, the door that was in the wilderness and traveling around, it's as if they were disconnected, they were excommunicated, and so too he wasn't receiving the direct communications from Hashem. So Moshe felt, it's not just that I'm not going into Eretz Yisrael, it's not just that, I've lost my special connection with Hashem. I need to go into Eretz Yisrael to reconnect with Hashem in the most direct way. Next paragraph. Omnam, however, ato shero'a shehaya hakadosh baruch hu imo, Now, after the battle of Sichon and Og, when Moshe saw that Hashem was with him, with a very strong connection, b'milchemes Sichon ve'og, in the war against Sichon and Og, Hashem enabled Moshe to lead the people in these great, massive victories over these powerful kings and their nations. And this represented the beginning of the merit of the Jewish people, lichbosh kol haaretz, to conquer all of the land. Moshe felt like conquering the lands of Sichon and Og wasn't just something disconnected to conquering the future conquering of Eretz Yisrael, of Eretz Canaan at that time. It was the beginning, the very first steps in conquering Eretz Yisrael. Choshav bidato, so Moshe thought in his mind, sheyeh gam lo hazuchus, that he would also have the merit to enter Eretz Yisrael. V'lochein, and therefore va'eschanon el Hashem va'esahi. Therefore Moshe said, I davened and implored Hashem to let me go into the land at that moment, because Moshe placed tremendously profound significance over the battles against Sichon, the battles and the victories over Sichon and Og, and he read into them that this was a way of Hashem reconnecting very directly with Moshe and with the Jewish people and allowing them to have these great victories. And not only that, Moshe saw it as the beginning of conquering Eretz Canaan, the first steps, and felt now is the time that I can hopefully ask Hashem to allow me to go in, because he's allowed me to take these giant steps of being victorious over Sichon and Og, conquering their lands, and now perhaps Hashem will just let me continue and lead the Jews into battle and conquering Eretz Yisrael. But as we know, of course, that was not to be. But the Zera Shimshon has, in the beginning of this piece, and of course there's a lot more to go, but in the beginning of the piece, he poses two questions. Why did Moshe pick this time to daven? And now he's answered that very clearly for us. And also, why did he want to go? Why did Moshe so passionately strive to get into Eretz Yisrael, Eretz Canaan? And of course, he's given us an answer and approach to that question as well, because only in Eretz Yisrael can a person have the most direct connection with Hashem. And Moshe wanted that connection, the highest level possible connection with Hashem. And not only did he want that, he wanted to build that connection in his own merit and not just through the merit of being the leader of Klal Yisrael. And that Moshe felt and knew could only be done in Eretz Yisrael. Yasher Koch for joining us in the learning in the Zera Shimshon this week. We look forward, God willing, to learning again together in the Zera Shimshon next week.